שבוע שעבר, גם הטובים של המעלית, גם עכשיו רוצה לקטן, עושים גם זה. זה המחזיקה. עשינו כזה, לא ממש. כן, עברנו לצאת עם אז זה כרגע מדבר בשימוש מכל שיש.
Good afternoon. Just one moment, something with the Zoom, it doesn't work. What is going on? Sharing the logs for some reason. Just one moment. Oh, I'm sharing the wrong screen, I think. Okay. Okay, good afternoon again. Sorry for the small delay. Again, traffic issues. Today, class, we are going to speak about privacy. This is a real concern when we speak about AI. Now, I am going to cover this from several angles, and this is because there are many people speak about this, but many times some of them are charlatans and don't speak about the issues that we see all around, meaning there are several different angles to this issue, and I would like to show you all of them. So we'll be able to see all the angles, and then at the end we can discuss. Okay. So I'm going to start and speak about online privacy or the lack of online privacy. I am going to take a break and speak about the importance of data. Then I'm going to go back to speak about how can we try to preserve privacy, and wrap it all with the question, the real question, about how can we balance between civil rights and public safety or public security, because this is the real issue when we concern privacy. It happens to be, and I would like to hear also you, that the internet, we do not behave or we do not act in the internet or in the online world as we act in the physical world. Now, the internet is a paradise for crooks and pedophiles, and for a good reason. If somebody will walk with us when we walk on the street, there are actually films like this or images like this, that whenever you go, somebody is following you. This will look very, very strange. We are not going to allow it. However, as we are going to see in a few minutes, This is exactly what happens in the online world. And yet we allow it. Okay? We are publishing a lot of personal information. Don't know if you know, but at least in Israel, and I suspect that this is the case in other countries, you cannot publish your children photos as you wish. For instance, if in school they would like to do some celebration and take photos of your kids, you need to allow them a written consent that it's okay. However, many people just publish their kids' photos in Facebook or whatever, really. Okay? And the notion of stranded danger, of course, we educate our kids that be aware. But online, this is not the case. Unfortunately, there are several cases that people, teenagers many times, got killed, raped, just by meeting strangers online. This is the real thing. So, and I'm going to go back to this slide, get back to this slide later on, but there is a double standard. This is first my first claim. So let's first speak about what does it mean, online privacy. So there is, and I think I spoke about it a few weeks ago, there is a data trail. Whenever we are moving in the physical or the online world, we leave trails. Whenever we are visiting websites, for sure, social networks, whenever we are sending whatever kind of message, SMS, WhatsApp, whatever, everything is recorded or written somewhere. Phone application, many phone applications track us and can keep on their servers a lot of information about us. Wherever we shop, online for sure, but also in physical stores, if we have what is called a club card or whatever, shopping clubs, then we are recorded, everything is recorded. And for sure, when we travel abroad or toll roads, etc. A nice episode about this, if you know parks and recreations.
Hey, bro! Listen, I was trying to buy this handcrafted mahogany wood model of B-25 Mitchell Panchito aircraft. Don't sass me. And I went to this website and this ad popped up that said, "Hey, Ron Swanson, check out this great offer."
What's your question?
My question is, what the hell?
Like, how did they know who you are?
Yeah.
Okay, there are these things called cookies, where like if you go to a site and buy something, it will remember you and then create ads for other stuff you might want to buy.
So it learns information about me. Seems like an invasion of privacy.
Dude, if you think that's bad, go to Google or type in your address.
So this is a bit extreme. Great TV show, by the way. It is a bit extreme. He is playing a role of a, which of course fits this, but anyhow, this is not far from the reality. Okay, cool. Let's continue. In the online world, everything is recorded. Whatever you said in whatever site, and to whom, of course. Maybe you are not saying anything. You keep your privacy, but people are speaking about you. So this is going to be recorded. Your location, whatever, when you go over abroad and you use Google, Google will track you. Also, toll roads or LPR, license plate recording in many parks, space parks, so parking spaces, this will record you. IP address can be recorded and is recorded by many websites. And again, this is location. We spoke about shopping history. And whenever you are surfing, and we are going to speak about this later, your preferences are kept. This was made very publicly to everybody when about 6 years ago, when this scandal of Facebook was out. This is called the Facebook Cambridge Analytica scandal. And it was the first time that the public realized that this is the issue. Now, for me and for everyone that is working with data, so it goes without saying, of course, this is the case. But for the huge public, this was not the case. And the story goes like this. Cambridge Analytica is a British company working with data, and they obtained the personal data of millions, actually 87 millions of users on Facebook. Now, they publish some kind of a questionnaire. This is your digital life. For some reason, people filled it. And then it happens to be that they use the information they got from all those millions for political campaigns. Okay? Now, again, this was not just another Tuesday for me, because this is the case. But for many other people, it was a shock. And actually, I wonder why. I spoke previously about the double standard, okay? And this is true for almost any online company, because the product is us. We don't pay to these companies. So since most of them are not philanthropics, they need to earn money from somewhere. So the somewhere is our data. This is the situation. Why they are doing this? Most of the time, there is no harm about behind this. They don't mean harm. And this is about what I spoke of 2 slides ago about preferences. It is useful for marketing, because whenever I know something about my customer and I would like to know as much as I can about my customer, because if this is the case, I can sell more, I can fulfill this customer request. So whenever I have the contextual state of the consumer, meaning I know where he was in my website, I know what are his preferences or her, I know what he needs, because he's now looking for something, he's searching for something, he's now browsing for something, I can personalize the message and I can deliver the best content, the best relevant content for the consumer at the right time, at the right place. This is gold for marketing, okay? So this is the driving force behind all of this. And now we should ask ourselves, do we see it useful or creepy? Because it goes in both ways. Otherwise, we need to pay. Any thoughts?
I think it's we should pay for the service, because I think something that maybe say the users today are not aware of the implications and not aware that data became the new currency.
Okay.
And basically all these corporations are making lots of money on our data. And we had a discussion with with Guy about it, that we can compare data as blood, right? That they cannot use this data without, and most of the people don't understand that this data is collected and what kind of data is collected. And if people would have the power to use their data and sell it, like if I can sell my data, I can put the price tag on that.
Okay.
Sometimes it's useful, like when I plan a vacation or something, it's very comfortable that the information is coming to me. I don't need to seek information.
At the right time.
Yes, exactly. Or by my children's age and where I'm coming from and what I want. So sometimes it's very useful. About paying, some services you can't pay for, like Facebook. If you want to use Facebook, You can't pay for Facebook.
Why not? It's a
Today,
club.
it's an
You
option.
can say, you can pay fees for a club for like any other club.
No, I mean, Facebook doesn't let you. Is there an option that Facebook tells you, okay, if
We
you pay
can-
for a subscription?
We can shout loud enough and ask for clubs that we are going to pay, and in return, you are not going. Okay, it's an option.
I'm not sure the company wants it.
I'm not talking about the company, but let's speak about newspapers. There are newspapers that ask for payment, and most of them not. This is the fact. Okay. Well, so there are many useful parts for this. For instance, credit card companies track us, all of them. And by doing some kind of fraud prevention, they keep our money. Okay? As we just said, we get the right information when you really need it. I'm now looking for some product. So I put a search question, and now I get some pop-ups or ads about the product that I'm looking for. So save me time, it saved me money because I'm going to get coupons now. Because if the company knows that I'm looking for something, in many cases, they are going to offer me coupons and will save me time and money. This is the case. Okay? And we just spoke about vacation. Google track your airline tickets, your hotel reservation, and just will put it in your calendar and let you plan your vacation. It's useful. We would like to watch content that interests us on Netflix or whatever. So they track us and they are going to offer us things that maybe we have no idea how to reach them otherwise. Health application, this is getting more and more common. They are going to track us, they are going to keep our personalized data. But let's say if they are going to keep 50 years of data and save our lives once, maybe it's beneficial. And I'm going to get to this at the end. We need to fight terror and crime, and we cannot do it without authorities invading our privacy. This is a fact, and I'm going to speak about this later on. But first, let's understand what does it mean that there is no privacy online. The idea is that anything in whatever digital format may find its way somehow to the general public. Even if you consider your computer, your private computer or your private phone as private, this is not necessarily the case because it may be stolen, you may be hacked, and your information is going to get online. And this is happening all the time. This is reality. Maybe you are going to repair your device and restore it about this. Technicians that took out information from phones or personal phones. Or unfortunately, this is also common. You are going to have relatives or friends that are going to use your information to get back there with you or to do some whatever. So if you don't want something to get in the public hands, don't produce it. This is the only way to really make sure that this is the case. Also, do not trust the privacy policy of companies because either they are going to lie, some of them, or they are going to do whatever you expect from them, for instance, deleting, but the real story is that they are not really physically deleting your information. They are just putting some sign that it is deleted. It's still there. Okay, even when you are going to close accounts. Also, there are web crawlers or web scraping. There is the Internet Archive. You may find there a lot of information that was deleted from the web. It's there. Or you can find it in Google, even after it was deleted. So even you think information was removed, It is not. Okay. Also, if you don't have any online presence and you are in the right age and social group, and you do not appear online, why? What do you have to hide? So this can backfire for you, and this is very useful for intelligence services. Questions? So there is no privacy. This is the reality. Even if you try to keep your privacy, somebody else can upload your photos. You were in a family wedding, so somebody upload you and tag you, and there is your photo, even if you don't want your photo to appear there. Okay, and there is now, it's very popular to find there are genealogy sites that people are building their family trees and just uploading to there everything about you because you are part of the family. Again, this is happening. So even if you would like, or you really wish to keep your information or your life private, maybe this is not going to happen. So the next question should be asked, so what? What is the problem? So now I'm going to show you a few things about what can be learned about you from your information. And of course, demographic information, for sure, this is very easy. And socioeconomic, about lifestyle, about your socioeconomic status, very easily to deduce it from your information. Life cycle stage, again, quite easy. But even genetic data, because nowadays it's very easy to pay few $100 and you get all your genome uploaded to some website. This is happening. And it has a good side because relatives found, again, after many years, each other because of this genetic information. And also the police solved crime because of the genetic information. Because you are the criminal, you don't, of course, going to do it, but your cousin did. And then there was a match. So now the police are going to search around. This is reality. I'm not inventing this. It has already happened. Okay? Next, genetic information, your cousin is going to upload it. So your employer will say, let's see what diseases this guy has. Maybe we're not going to offer the job because in the family we see this and this and that. Again, it's not fiction. It could happen. Okay? So this is just to start. I already gave you about 2 or 3 weeks ago, the story of Will Kendall about phone records and what can be deduced for this. I'm not going to repeat this. I just going to let the people understand where he lived, where his family lived, how he traveled, and even that he's not getting out enough, meaning not only his whereabouts, but also his habits. And I also gave you the story about the COVID-19 from South Korea, so I'm not going to repeat this again. But even more than this, maybe more frightening, people can understand your opinions, your ideas, your feelings just from your data. And this is called psychographic, your personality, values, attitudes, interests, etc. Your political opinions, and I'm going to demonstrate this in a minute. What is your religious or philosophical beliefs? Can be understood by your data. Of course, if you're going to express your thoughts, and also sexual orientation. And I'm going to do this again. Next slide. Okay, questions? So let's see some famous cases. The first one is Netflix, and this is from about 20 years ago. Netflix published the data of their customers about 20 years ago, not very much. And the intention was very good. Research. And they publish it. And of course, they would like to make sure that nobody of their customers is going to get hurt or will be people who understand that those are the customers. So any identification information has been removed. And also they put it out and it for research, asking people, let us know what can you do with our data to get our services better. Okay, this is how they start. So there was a guy, and this is the article, how to break anonymity of the Netflix prize dataset. And there is another dataset called IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, that many people are using it to rate movies, etc. And they use it as a source for background knowledge. And by matching information from the Netflix database and IMDb subscriber, they identified many people. Also, they was able, and this is represented in the paper, their political preferences and sexual preferences. It happens to be that people with different sexual preferences like different movies or genres. This happens. So just by knowing which movie you would like to see, people can understand a lot about you. Okay, even without, if they are not going to publish anything else about you beside this. Okay, so this is only one example. Questions? Another famous story is this one. AOL, America Online, a very good, big company at the time, again, about 20 years ago, 2006. Again, they published the list of searches, searching keywords. That's it. Conducted by their customers. Of course, any identified information was removed, whatever, so there will be nobody will be able to identify or get the personal data of a specific customer. Okay? Well, no.
In those two cases, what tools did they use? Like simple machine learning or
No,
just cross-referencing?
just referencing. In this case, they were done by journalists of newspaper, the New York Times. They took those searches and identified people. And the most important, the most famous lady, Thelma Arnold, 62-year-old at the time, a widow. She searched for 60 single men and dog that urinates on everything. Of course, she searched for many other things. Now, if you are a customer of AOL and everything that you search in your entire period was just the word dog, nobody is going to identify it. But if you search for several things, or quite a lot of things, then they just took her searches and start to look it online and identify them. And actually, they came to her door, knocked politely, show her this. So is this you? She said, yes, this is me. Okay. So just by your searches, you can be identified, even if no other personal data is involved. Okay. Now, why those examples are from the past? Because after these companies started to realize that there is a problem here, okay, and stopped doing this. I'm not sure if entirely, but those two cases are very, very famous. This is a more recent, 2020. And again, it's just a journalist stating, and I'm going to read it in, I think it's she, but I'm not sure. Let's see. Adam, no, it's a he. In less than 10 seconds, she spoke with 2 students. She produced a data sets with more than 1,000 people who have high net worth, are married, have children, and also have a username or password on a cheating website. Useful if you are in this business, okay? Another query pulled up a list of senior level politicians revealing the credit scores, phone numbers, and addresses of 3 US senators, 3 US representatives, the mayor of Washington, DC, and a cabinet member. Just by one search. From where did they get this information? This is from the leak from the cheat website. You all know what is cheating website, assume. And this is by, again, from the dark web. People stole information from those people or from companies that those people were customer of, okay? And just by connecting the dots, with no really a lot of effort, okay? This is a funny story. There is the issue about, forgot his name, the one that was Jeffrey Epstein. Sorry, Jeffrey Epstein that is gone now, but there is a huge issue about him being a pedophile. And Ghislaine Maxwell was known to be one of his pimps, maybe this is the right word. So for some reason, Federal decided to publish her testimony, but they tried to redact it. And they did a very awful case. I'm not going to go over it, but let's see. There is an index, and now we see clients, many mentions of something that was redacted, and column. Interesting. What could be this word? I don't know. Let's go to one of these pages. President Clinton. Okay, so they try to erase the name Clinton because he was one of the people that was mentioned in those testimonies. But just going to this page, we see the word Clinton and clients and color. Clinton is in between, right? We don't need to be a doctor for understanding this. And it goes on. Okay, maybe let's see, there's a quick one. We have, have you ever flown President Clinton on your helicopter? Okay. And then he identified also Dershowitz that was involved, or at least, okay, the same thing. Okay, I think you got the idea. So this is not the right way to eradicate from testimonies. If you, as I said before, if you don't want something to be published, don't publish it. Now, there is another way to eradicate is just to make it digitized, reduce the resolution. Okay, like putting boxes on faces. There are algorithms that can remove it. There is a very nice, I saw an article about a month ago that they did it for text and just again, goes up the text again, just for this trying to discuss it. So the internet is a paradise for crooks and pedophiles for a reason. You saw several of them. if I can get your information, not specifically yours, but maybe I can, in just few clicks, and I can extort people so easily, but not only for this. And I claim that we have double standards. You spoke about the issues. Whenever you install an application, do you check what it does? No. Who is checking? I do, because I know a lot about it. But if I'll ask now 100 people, I believe 99 of them are not. So if this privacy is a real concern, why most of us don't care? And I claim that this is the issue. So there is a double standard, and I claim that most people don't care. Now, I believe that most of them are not aware that this is the situation, probably. But there are people that try to advocate and explain that this is problematic, but still, nobody cares.
If we big data plus the so they survey people and ask them how much you care about privacy, and they rank it very high,
Okay,
but their action
sure,
they
differently.
don't. So if you ask people, they say, "Oh, it's very."
Yes. Okay. Questions about it because before I go on? Okay. Next, let's speak about AI and data. There is something which is called nowadays data science. No data, no science. In Hebrew, there is say that if you don't have wheat, you cannot bake bread. So, the same case, if you don't have data, how can you do data science? You need it, okay? And I'm going to explain to you what does it mean that you need it, but keep in mind that maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I spoke about the arms race of AI. And I mentioned there that one of the things that there is an arms race around is data, because you must have data in order to investigate and explore and create new algorithms. And I mentioned that China don't have problems about it. They have other privacy standards from, let's say, the US or UK. Okay, keep it in mind. If there is no data, it is impossible to learn or to test hypotheses. Many times it is difficult to collect the data. I mentioned it previously in the course. In other cases, there is not enough data. I also mentioned. Okay, and there are many restrictions: privacy, confidentiality, security, or sometimes just IP of a business that you cannot have. Okay, these are real issues. However, you cannot do it without. You cannot do data science again without data. We will divide the current discussion to 2 phases, according to life cycle of producing a system: training or system development phase, and deploying, ongoing system operation. If you are going to use rule-based AI, then it is possible to develop an expert system without data. It is possible because in this case, you just take the information that the expert has and you take it and represent it with facts and rule set. No need for data, okay? However, you cannot test your system or tune it if you don't have data. Yes, you can write the rules, but how are you going to test it? Okay? When we speak about machine learning, then supervised learning is based on data collection, understanding, and labeling. If you cannot collect data, you will not have examples to train your algorithm. So there is no way you can go on with it. Now, the case is better in unsupervised because, of course, you require data because everything that involves unsupervised requires data, but it doesn't require data understanding and labeling. So there are some cases which you can relax and say, okay, I will let the machine access it. I will not let users access it. Okay? So this might be better, but still you must have the data. Okay? Unless you will find clever ways to tag the data or label the data automatically. And sometimes it is possible, but not in all cases. Sometimes it's also possible to use syntactic data. Well, there are things that are called data privacy preserving method, which I'm going to discuss later on. And there are now companies, startups, whatever, that are now specialized in synthesized data that looks similar to the data that you must have in order to train your data. This is good. And this is, we should try to put more effort on this. However, it's not always enough. When we speak about system operation phase, after the deployment, the need for real data is more acute. Why? If for some reason your system doesn't function, then you will need to diagnose it. You need to test what is going on. And usually in most systems, especially systems that rely on data, if you cannot understand the data, you cannot resolve the issue. So somebody will need to be exposed to this data. Furthermore, the goal of many of these systems, for instance, cybersecurity systems, is to alert. And to alert that you need more attention. Needing more attention, meaning now you need, even if you manage automatically, if just in the phase before, but now if there is some issue, one needs to examine the real system data. Otherwise, why did we deploy this system to begin with? Questions? And there is a real issue when we are dealing with dynamic data or evolving domains. What is dynamic data? I spoke about it when I spoke about behavioral algorithms. Static data usually describe entity. Dynamic data typically characterize events that occur sometimes, okay? So if we are speaking about dynamic data, then you probably will need more data and more fresh data. We cannot rely on data from the past. Because a machine learning model might become irrelevant after certain period of time. For instance, I cannot plan the traffic in Tel Aviv area using data from the 70s. Does it make sense? Okay. Even 5 years ago, maybe it doesn't make sense. Okay. And this means that if I use synthetic data or some kind of privacy preserving and put a lot of effort to it to develop a system, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years later, it may or might be not relevant anymore. And either that I need to put this off effort again, or I will need real data. In evolving domains, it's even worse. Cyber is a very good example for this. Spotting malwares in cyber world, I need a database of training data. Okay, the evolution of malware is so fast, and I can tell you from my experience that if you are going to take malware from 2 years ago, your job is not relevant at all. I can tell you further. 1 year ago, okay, because the evolution is so fast. If you are going to train your system on malware that were introduced or first introduced 1 year ago, you are not going to be relevant at all to malware that are introduced today. Okay, so when you are speaking about evolving domains, and cyber is a good example, there are others, like in biology. You have a real issue. Questions?
How do you break data?
Of what? Synthetic data? Okay. You need some kind of real data, and then you start to analyze it and do some kind of statistical test about the nature of the data, many different statistical tests. And after you understand the form, the syntax, this distribution that you have in this data, you try now to synthesize something that looks in the same manner.
Is it this way from de-anonymization?
No. I'm not speaking about de-anonymization. I'm going to speak about de-anonymization after the break. I'm speaking about synthetic data at all. No, this is not de-anonymization. This is synthesizing. It's a different story. De-anonymization is taking real data and try to eradicate whatever is problematic. And I'm going to speak about it in a few seconds.
That's not what I'm saying. The synthetic data relies on real data,
Try to mimic real data, not rely on.
but they are using real data.
At the beginning, yes, but they don't need to access it and to read it. They just need automatically to do some kind of statistics on it. Okay?
Virtual engineer it, if you know how the system works, for example. Yes.
Reverse engineering what? Synthetic data?
Yes.
No, because it's real synthetic. You can get some information about the distribution and the nature of the real data, but probably it will be very difficult to really understand a specific piece of data because it's not the same. It's just a new thing that you just created. They try to mimic it. Okay? Which is not the case in de-anonymization. Okay?
So how would you apply big data? Where would use cases for it?
Let me give you a very simple and quick example. I need to test load on communication equipment. Okay? It started actually there. In order to test the load on a communication equipment, you need large volume of communication data. This is not an easy task because of many issues of how to get it. No company will just volunteer to give your data, to give her data or what its data. So they started to analyze communication data, understand the nature of it, and there are companies specialized in producing something that really looks like communication data. Okay, you cannot just do ABC. Okay, you need to, of course, to comply to IP addresses rules, etc., and protocol rules, etc. And they are going to produce synthetic data that looks very, very similar to real communication traffic. And now you can multiply it and test load. Okay, this is a very good example for synthetic data. Now, nowadays, people are trying to do it also for medical records, which is much harder, of course. But okay, there are. This is another example. Yes. Okay. Questions? But this is synthesizing. This is not anonymizing. Okay. To summarize this part, you must have data. Data is required for building the system, training the system, examining hypotheses, for tuning the system, whatever type of system, you need to tune it with data. Whenever there are alerts in your system or error in your system, you will need to access the data. Sometimes, as I said, it is possible to use synthetic data, and people are doing it, and this is great. But it has many, many limitations, as I said, and most of the time you cannot do. Questions? So let's take a break. And we'll start again at 4:25.
לא שמש ברזיל. צייד שטרייט, אולפס. תחת נמצא. I forgot to temperature already gonna be big. Okay. יצטרך אחרי הרבה חודשים. אני באוניברסיטה לומדת היום.
רגע, אנחנו גם נראים גם
כן.
בדיוק.
So we spoke till now about online privacy or the lack of online privacy in the double standard. I gave you the angle of the need for data. Now, remind you again, there is an arm race in the AI world, and I believe that no country wish to be behind the others. So there is a real important need for data. If you have more questions about it, go ahead. Now, what can be done about it? What can we do? And now I'm going to speak about ways to maintain privacy. And basically, there are two ways. Low technology. You cannot do without one of them. You must have both of them. At least this is my belief and many others. And I'm going to start with the GDPR. GDPR is the, I think, the best approach till now to try to handle this situation. Started in the EU. It's a general data protection regulation. And the idea here is to get back the force to the individuals. This is the idea. We try to strengthen and unify the notions first, the lingo of data protection. And try to make it public, try to educate the public about this issue. And it started about 6 years ago. Okay. Now, it doesn't apply geographically inside the EU itself, but it applies in the whole world whenever you maintain data of EU citizens. Okay? They can but at least we are going to try to enforce it also globally. If you have records of EU personnel. So now I'm going to sit down because I'm going now, since it's low, I'm going to read. Now, I don't claim that I have the most recent version. Maybe there are some changes. Never mind. This is not legal course. I'm going to give you the essence of what it is, just cut paste from the law itself. So first, we need to define what is personal data and try to do it. Any information related to an identified or identifiable natural person or subject, a person, okay? It could be direct identifiers like name, ID number, only identifiers like email address, easy, or indirect identifiers as location or various types of identity, okay? The key test is whether a direct or indirect identifier alone or in combination with others can be used to uniquely identify a natural person. And I show you examples that you can use other data, not necessarily identifiers, in order to identify persons, okay? All personal data must be protected. This is the general idea of what we are talking about. But there are also special categories of personal data, carry additional prohibition and constraints, racial or ethnic origin, political opinions, religious or philosophical beliefs, genetic and biometric data, or data about a natural person's sex life or sexual orientation. Those are the cases or the type of information I stated before that can be deduced about you just by whatever information, okay? They did a good job here trying to put down things that should be probably more kept more private. I don't know, okay? Questions? So this is the general idea of what do you need to do or what is personal data. Now, what should you do if you have personal data? You must first document the processes that contain personal data in order, meaning some kind of auditing inside your organization. It's not the case that everybody can access it, everybody can do whatever they wish. You must document it. Okay, you must get keep tracks of it. You must conduct a risk assessment period, cyber risk, physical risk, how people can access the personal data and keep it. Basically like keeping money. You must also appoint a data protection officer. As you have a cyber protection officer, you should do something about it in the same case. Okay? Questions? Now, they try to balance between the need and they understand, those who wrote this law, that you need the data. You cannot avoid it. So we try to balance between the need of data and privacy. So this is their trial to do it. Data can be processed only if there is a legal basis, like direct consent from the data subject. Again, data subject is the person, okay? You need to agree. Now, probably most of the time you just been asking, say, okay. Necessity for performing a contract with the data subject. Now, if I'm going to supply some services to your home, I need to know your address, right? If I'm going to supply to you services and you need to pay me, I need your credit card number. So complying with legal obligation. If you have some kind of legal obligation, other legal obligation, and you need this data for it, then it's okay. To protect the vital interest of the data subject or another natural person, a bit more vague here, but are specifically the vital interest. Processing is necessary for the performance of a task carried out in the public interest or in the exercise of official authority vested in the controller, meaning authorities. Now, you should know that GDPR is enforced on all organization or person beside law agencies. Law agencies do not need to obey to the GDPR. In line with the legitimate interest of the controller or a third party, meaning there is a controller or there is a third party and he has some kind of a legitimate interest, whatever. If you can explain it, it's okay. But there are also rights for the people, for the citizens. Right to access, meaning you can ask and get your information. Companies need to comply to this, but again, most of the public are not aware of this. Right to erasure under specific circumstances, the right to be forgotten. You can request and ask to be forgotten, and they must do it. The right of rectification, correction. The right of, to restriction of processing, meaning, okay, you got my data, but I'm not going to allow you to use it for this task, for instance. Okay, again, how many people know about it? How many people know that they can ask this? Probably few. Data controllers have the responsibility to notify each recipient with copies of personal data when handing a data subject request to rectify, erase, or restrict the processing of his, meaning you can get the information. But notice, by the way, the suffix, unless this is impossible or too difficult. Okay, so you have a way out of this as a company. And you have the right to data portability, meaning you got my data. Now I would like to shift to another vendor, your competitor. I can ask to move my data with me. The right to object to the processing of their data in line with specific legal basis. Do you have some kind of a legal basis that can explain why you cannot process my data? Go ahead and try to do it. The right to not be subject to a decision that is based solely on automated processing, meaning if they are going to use some kind of AI algorithm and you think, well, it's not good for me, I would like a person in the loop, you can ask for this. How many people are aware of this? Probably, right? Maybe beside lawyers that know how to make money for this, and we'll see this in a minute. The right to learn if their personal data was breached and is likely to cause harm, meaning somebody did a cyber attack or whatever, stole your information, companies must publish it. Now, this is enforced. And there is a website, if you are interested, a tracker of enforcement. You can check it by state, and you can, let's say, order it by the fine. You see there are small fines, but there are also large fines. 4-digit amounts, unknown, I don't know about this. This is new. Okay, here we see a large fine. You see from Ireland, Meta. Meta is Facebook. So if you are...
Meta is a star enforcement.
So if you are a groupie of companies getting fines, there are a lot of them here, it is enforced, okay? And probably there are lawyers that are making money from this, I assume, but it's a real thing. So this is for legal documents. Again, this is not a legal class, but I hope you got the general idea. But there are also technical measures, because I told you, you cannot do just by legal, because if you need to do something like auditing, etc., you need technology for it. You don't expect that a person who is now going to do everything for petabytes of data. Doesn't make sense. So there are technical measures, appropriate use of tools for classifying personal data. You need to, as a business, classify what is personal data, so you will be able to maintain it, because this is personal data. Identify access and management for personal data, okay? Like in other sections of cybersecurity, etc., there is a way to decide who can access authorization, authentication, etc. And you need to deploy it, and also you need to journal it. Maintain good records of data processing activities. What was done, by whom, etc. Identifying and blocking data breaches, for sure. And this is a very important statement: data protection must be by design and by default, meaning, okay, your business is now for 20 years. Okay, but if you're now starting a new business, we tell you that your data protection should be designed as part of your product development. Okay, I believe that if I'm running the business 20 years, I cannot comply to by design default. But if I started the business after 2018, I cannot say I didn't know, I didn't think about it. You must think about it in advance. This is important. Data reduction solution when data is transferred to third party. It is allowed to send data to third party, and because again, they realize, they acknowledge that data is a currency, that our data is their product, so it's allowed. But you need to comply to some things, and you need to do data reduction, and also you need to transfer the obligation, your obligation, to the third party. Now, what are data reduction solutions? What else you can do? Encrypting or pseudonymizing personal data, which is the procedure by which the most identifying fields within a data record are replaced by one or more artificial identifiers or pseudonyms. Okay? So now let's speak about the technology. Questions before I continue? Means that, and there are, it's quite an active research area nowadays, how I can preserve privacy, but still share the information. So I'm going to show you the basics of this. There is an algorithm called K-anonymity. It means that I will not be able to distinguish between K records. K is a number. And I'm going to illustrate it in a moment. And there are usually three ways to go, sorry. Generalization, separation, and data removal. Data removal is just remove the data. Okay, that's it. Let's say that this is my data. It's medical data. I have the names and personal information of patients, and also I have the disease that those persons suffer from. Okay, this is my information. I would like to share it with another medical center or with a research institute. I'm allowed to do it, but I need to maintain the privacy. So this is what I'm going to send out. And now let's say K is 3. You will not be able to distinguish between 3 records. So what I'm going to use, first, of course, suppression. I'm not going to share the names. Trivial, right? Then I'm going to use generalization. I don't need to send out a specific age. In the medical world, it is known that you can use the ranges, and it is good enough for research and for many other tasks, just to know that a person is between 20 and 30. You don't need to say it's 26. So this is generalization. Okay? Sorry. So now let's see if I comply with k-anonymity. Okay, I have here 3 persons, all of them age under 20, all of them are male, all of them have cancer, so I cannot distinguish between those 3, right? Females, I cannot distinguish between them. And I cannot distinguish between 1, 2, 3. So it's okay. This is 3 anonymity. Okay? Question? Is it good enough? No. Because, of course, all sensitive information, in this case, the disease, are removed. But in our case, there are, in one case, identical. So if for some reason I know that you are on this list and I know your age, I know you have cancer. Questions? Okay. And I can always do what's called a background knowledge attack. What I mentioned before, Netflix, IMDb. This is background knowledge attack. Okay, so if for some reason I know that Bill is there, I can tell for sure that it has a cancer. Okay, so I did try to maintain anonymity, and I failed. There is another algorithm which is improvement, which is called L diversity. And this addresses the homogeneity attack. And there must be L values for a sensitive attribute in each class. Okay, so if I notice that there are a class and there are not enough diversity in it, I must introduce it. Now, of course, this is not always possible. It depends on the type of the data. So there is another technique, which is called T-closeness. I'm not going to get into it. It gets more and more technical. But to sum up this stage, it is very, very difficult to actually anonymize high-dimensional data sets. Let me give you another example. Let's say that I have a table with all the salaries in a company, some organization. And all I allow you to do is ask questions, statistical ones. You cannot ask what is the salary of somebody, okay? If I'm going to ask just about, let's say, what is the 95 percentile median or mean of the salaries, I can get this answer, it's okay. But since you know there is always most of the time there is some kind of distribution, okay? Normal distribution. So if I ask about this percentile, we'll get this average, probably I will get a 0. Who is there? Okay, so again, there are ways to attack anonymizing algorithm, and as I said, it's an active research field, and I can tell you, people are trying and doing their best, but can you really achieve it? So there are other things. There is something which is called randomization. Randomization or data distortion is actually adding noise, adding irrelevant information inside the dataset itself. Again, with some kind of probability that is going to distort it. For instance, distort this. Okay. Still, some outliers might remain because if I'm going to distort the distribution, skew it, for instance, still CEO is going to maintain here. Unless I'm going to add a lot CEOs, I don't know, but still I'm going to ask about the average of something, still I'm going to guess the CEO itself. And there are some kind of methods which are trying to generalize. I'm not going to get into that. If you are interested, this is the most famous one. There is another problem with personalization, and this is cyber attacks. So there are also data distribution. So I'm not going to maintain all the information on one site about cloud, let's say. I'm going to break it. And if you are going to get into one site, you are not going to be able to use the information because in order to add all the pieces, you need the information from all sites and combine it together. So there are algorithms for this. And of course, there are cryptographic techniques. There is something which is called differential privacy. It is way beyond the scope of this course. But if you are interested, this is a way to go because people are now researching this, and probably in 10, 15 years from now, we'll have a better solution. That's all. Questions? So there are ways to try to preserve the data. As I told you, legal arm need technology. Technology by itself, as far as I see it today, is not enough. You need also a legal arm. So we need to combine it together legally and by using good algorithms. And then maybe we are going to have at least good enough solutions in order to be able to use data and share data and maintain at least basic privacy of it. This is the summary of okay. So now let's speak about civil rights and public safety, because nowadays we are entered what is called the dark ages of the intelligence world. Most global communications traffic nowadays is end-to-end encrypted, meaning it is encrypted on this device and decrypted on the receiving device. Okay? Everything that you are going to send today, email, instant messages, whatever, WhatsApp, or companies are using VPNs, virtual private networks. Almost everything is encrypted end-to-end. Most mobile devices, or all, I think today, have full disk encryption, meaning everything on your disk here is encrypted, even if you are not requesting it. Why? It started with the leak of Edward Snowden that leaked the information of the NSA. And then the world realized that what can be done and what are the risks. It started more privacy concerns until this I think that most, if you look around, you see that there were people speaking about privacy, but not a lot. I think this is a turning point. And of course, there are risks of cybersecurity. So people now realize that there are hackers and your information can be stolen, etc. So people are asking not only for privacy solution, but also protect me from hackers that are not going to steal my information or my important information, not necessarily for privacy concerns. Okay. Now, encryption is a huge issue for security agencies. You must have secure encryption in order to maintain privacy, to allow people to do commercial stuff online and not afraid all the time that people are going to steal their money. And of course, in order to secure your information and your operation to defend from cyber security. But not only the good guys realize this, also the bad guys, organized crime, pedophiles, and terrorists also aware of this and use it. And when I started to say that the online world is heaven for pedophiles and criminals and terrorists, this is another reason why. The situation today is that their data is inaccessible to LEAs, law enforcement agencies, and national security agencies. Nowadays, those organizations are blind if they are trying to conduct surveillance about terror groups or to investigate criminal groups or criminal syndicates, because all of them communicate nowadays. Communication means that are end-to-end encrypted, no intelligence. It's a real issue. Okay? Questions? So how do we balance privacy, cybersecurity, and public safety? Now, this is part of much larger debate of responsibilities. Who is responsible for his privacy or health security or whatever safety? Do we have responsibilities on ourselves? Like whenever I install an application, not say, okay. Do we expect companies to do it for us, or we expect them to secure our information? What about the governments? What they have to say about it? So this is a real debate. And we saw the GDPR about privacy. Of course, there are now laws also about cybersecurity, and probably we are going to see more of this. There's also, by the way, about 2 months ago, the EU published a first law about AI, about how to protect citizens from AI. I believe it's premature. This is why I'm not going to consider it. But who is responsible? We should say that I'm not going to do anything about my securing my computer. The government should keep an eye. Or, like in the real physical world, well, the government is expecting you to lock your door, for instance. They are not expect you to have an army and defend yourself from, let's say, attacks from another country. But not any criminal that passed by should get into your house. Questions about this? So I don't have solutions for this. This is still going on, and I think it will take a while until we realize what are the responsibilities here. But there is a dispute, a huge one, that was between the FBI and Apple, and let's discuss this one. The FBI wanted Apple, the company, to enable it to unlock an iPhone 5. Okay. This phone was recovered from one of the San Bernardino shooters. There were two terrorists. They both were killed in a shootout with the police. They did the crime and they killed 14 people and injured 22. And while they shootout, they destroyed their personal phones. They didn't want the police to get it. However, the work phone of one of them was intact, but locked. Okay? It was an iPhone, and an iPhone, if you try to guess the password 10 times and get it wrong, is going to erase all information on the disk. Okay? This is the issue. So what's now? The FBI asked Apple, please help us to unlock the phone. This is a terror investigation. We are afraid that this terrorist is going to conduct another attack. Not him, of course, because we just shoot him, but maybe he has colleagues. Apple declined, saying no, or in their word, unprecedented step which threatens the security of our customers. That's the situation. A day before a hearing, of course, the FBI took them to a hearing. The FBI found another way to do it. At the time, people saw that there was an Israeli company that sold it, but probably this is not the case because a few years ago, it was published that it was an Australian company. Okay, gentlemen. What do you think? This is a real dispute between privacy preservation and the right of people to be alive. Because I guess that Apple has also customers that don't want to be shot, I guess.
But it has a public image to keep it, protect its customers' privacy.
Yes, but people realize that they don't care about their lives. Because this is what they are saying. I'm going to save the privacy of my customer, a dead customer, a terrorist dead customer, in all cost. This is what they say.
But it's a slippery slope. I mean, I guess they thought that if they open his cell phone, then other customers will say, okay, next time they will go
Sure,
after
this is
people
sure.
with
This is
political opinions.
this is the idea. But maybe they could say, okay, we are not going to do it unless you are going to give us something for court. It's another way to go, right? We are not going to do it unless the Supreme Court will tell us. Okay?
It might have been the case if they haven't found anything else to do with them.
I don't know the hearing, so I don't know. Now, there is another case. I don't remember all the details, but another company, actually it was a personal person that developed before WhatsApp, there was another communication mean that had end-to-end encryption. And again, some criminal used it. And the FBI, I believe, requested this guy that did this work to give her the key. And he said no. So they took him to court, and the court said, you must give the key. Now, the key is a very, very large key. So he just printed it and gave her a box of paper. Good luck. Okay, and just after it closed, shut down his company. The day after. So I don't know. It's a real issue here. I understand why they have that thought, but again, I think that security of customer involved also shooting on them, but I don't know. Okay, so this is the issue. So what they did happen? They changed their algorithm. And if at the time they had the key, now they deploy an algorithm that the key is auto-generated and they don't have it anymore. So even if court is now going to tell them, you must hand the key, they will say, I don't know the key. This is the current situation. Okay?
They can use biometric data to unlock.
It's not so easy. It's not so easy because there are ways to hack into phones, as we saw this company did it, and probably other can do, but it's not so easy. Okay, so the current situation is that Apple, and I think that also Meta, Facebook, WhatsApp, deploy algorithms that is end-to-end encryption, and they don't have the key. So even if you try to enforce us, what do you want from us? We can't help you. This is the situation. So what can we do? Technology and law. There's no other way. There is now the technology is, you probably heard about Pegasus, endpoint devices, hacking endpoint devices. There is no other way. Those agencies must use tools like Pegasus if they would like to fight terrorism and criminal activity, because nowadays, today, there is no other way. There is something that can use metadata analysis. If you recall the information about a phone record that I use, that I can tell a lot about people, then I can try to grab this information and maybe use it to solve crimes, etc. It's okay, but it's not enough. And there is law. Now, there are two laws, actually there are three of them, ETSI, CALIA, US states, European, and there is another one, the Russian one, that mandate all communication companies to allow LIAs, again, law enforcement agencies, to get the information, to hear the conversation, or to read the conversation. Okay, those laws are out there from the 50 or the 60. But this is exactly the problem. They're out there from the 50 or the 60. They are very, very fitted to phone calls way back. They cannot say anything useful about cyber world with end-to-end encryption. So we need to change the laws. And actually, this is exactly what several countries are trying to do. So I'm going to give you several indications about this. This is from 2020, Encryption and Public Safety, Department of Justice, International Statement, End-to-End Encryption and Public Safety, which basically say we must need a way to get to the information. We must find a way. I'm not going to go over it because I have in other examples. And this is the EARN Act, IT Act from the US. It started for 2020. It's not over yet. It was denied, I believe, by now 3 times. The third attempt was last year. And this bill revised the framework for prevention of online sexual exploitation of children, pedophilia. Okay. However, many people that object this law say no. Okay. If you pass this bill, companies or organizations are going to use it not only to protect children, but also to eavesdrop to everybody else, because now you have the means to do it. And what the EARN Act is about, again, I'm going to read. Among other things, the bill does the following: establishes a National Commission on Online Child Sexual Exploitation Prevention, okay? Directs the commission to develop best practices for interactive online services providers, Facebook, Twitter, blah, 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 to prevent the online sexual exploitation of children, meaning you are obliged to do something about it. Requires interactive online services providers to certify compliance with the best practices or implement other reasonable practices to prevent the online sexual exploitation of children, or else they lose liability protection from claims alleging violations of child sexual exploitation laws. Because nowadays, those companies are saying, hey, we are the flaw. Okay? If there was a murder here, can I say that the flaw is responsible for this? No, just a flaw. So this is their claim. We just gave you the facilities to interact and to do whatever you wish. What you are going to do about it? What do you want from us? And here they say, no, this is not the case. It's not only a flaw. You actually allow the ability to offend children. Actually, this is the case. I told you at the beginning that we have different standards for online behavior and for physical behavior. So if you're not going to have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, etc., probably there were less ways for pedophiles to approach children. Okay? So now there's still, they say, it's not my business. And this act say, yes, it is. Okay? Questions? So it was not legislated yet, but let's go to the EU, encryption and public safety. This is the same time, security through encryption and security despite encryption. They say, yes, we must have encryption. We realize that we cannot continue to shop or to do things online unless we are going to have encryption. But we also need some ways to protect our world from the bad guys. So this is security despite encryption. And UK is quite active about this. This is a year ago. UK government plans publicity leads to undermine privacy of your chats. This is the headlines. The Home Office has hired a high-end agency to mobilize public opinion against encrypted communication, blah, 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 meaning try to shift the public and to understand that there is a real issue here. And this is very fresh, about a month ago. Not only the UK, I took it from the government Gov.uk website, but European police, and this is something that although the UK get out from the EU, still they are coordinate their efforts. European police chiefs call for end-to-end encryption rollout to include public protection measures, meaning course, they are behind because end-to-end encryption is already rolled out. But you must have also public protection measures. And I don't cite everything. You have the link, and also if you click it, you get to it. And just 2 sentences from this. They cannot protect their customers as they are no longer able to see illegal behavior on their own systems. Again, we are speaking about Facebooks, etc. Child abuse does not stop just because companies choose to stop looking. And this is exactly what they are doing today. I'm saying. These changes are also make it harder for us to investigate serious crime and protect the public, as the companies are less able to act on a warrant and provide us with the data of suspected criminals. Because nowadays, as I said, they are shifting to technology that they cannot do it. So now it's their doing. It's not from God. They decided to shift to this type of technology. Of course, they can shift back and to say, okay, we are going to allow end-to-end encryption, but we are going to maintain the key and give it to you if you have an order from a judge. Okay? So we must have some balance. This is the idea here. Questions? So that's it for the discussion of privacy. And as I told you at the beginning, it is discussed a lot nowadays, also in political discussions. But at least I wanted to give you as I believe, many angles of this question because it's not a simple one. It's not that, okay, I need privacy, please protect me, my privacy, that's it. No, there are other needs. We need to balance between all of them. See, there are right needs, all of them need the data, the need for privacy, the need for security, and the need for safety. And we need to find the right balance between all those legitimate needs. Questions? Okay, next week we are not going to have a class because there is a holiday. So in 2 weeks from now, this is going to be our last session. Okay? See you.
Yes.